Hello and welcome. Today we've got David Mahoney, and today we are going to be discussing the Israel update. NATO is worried, and also biblical prophecies. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to my Instagram channel at nicholas.veniamin. You need to type it in letter by letter because I'm shadow banned, otherwise you won't find me. So you can follow all my daily news reels. David, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, and what have you been up to?
Good to see you, Nick. I'm very well currently in the UK for a couple of days, enjoying the autumn crisp weather. It's a nice change from where I live in southern Spain. But I'll tell you what's weird, Nick, is I don't know if you've noticed it, but when I came here now, I've only been here since yesterday, the leaves have all still got green. The trees are all still got green leaves on. They should be brown and on the floor by now. So you must have had a very nice long summer.
We have. The summer went into September and slightly into October. So it's been really nice. Maybe there's a slight delay. They have, I believe, lied to us about how many months we've had, because I think it was 13. So I think that's why we're moving along,
It's strange, yeah. The autumn's not really here in England, although the weather's turning now, but the leaves, I mean, I'm looking out this green countryside here, and it should be brown by now, the fall. But who knows what the real reason is? The climate is, I don't believe in any of this climate change. I think the climate change has always changed. I certainly don't believe the narrative. But there's been a very strange couple of weeks, Nick. Last time we talked, obviously the Middle East explosion, this Israel-Palestine conflict has blown up. And I'm watching this pretty carefully. And there's so much going on. And it's really confusing for people because half the people don't understand when you see all these Palestinian supporters saying, they're supporting Hamas, but Hamas are a terrorist organization. Like, I'll give you a really good example. It was Homos for Hamas, a parade that they were doing. It looked like New York, but it could have been somewhere else. But the truth of it is, if they were in Palestine doing that, the Hamas would pick them up, take them to the top of the building, and basically throw them off. So the amount of confusion and ignorance people have about who they're supporting, if they're supporting Israel, they're supporting Palestine and Hamas, or if it's, the Israeli Defense Forces, the ignorance involved is just astounding. And it's driving so much division across all of these cities worldwide. I'm like, guys, get a grip. You're falling into that trap again where it's us against them. It should be all of us together against the worldwide elite.
Exactly.
This 2030 format that they want to get everybody into. It's just they're falling into that trap again. And here we go again. They're just watching mainstream media and, homos for Hamas. Honestly, I would give them about 30 seconds in that country if they were doing that before they would be tortured and executed and humiliated in a terrible, terrible way. The people are so ignorant about who to support and what's really going on.
Absolutely. Well, the Khazarian mafia, who are the deep state, who are the Rothschild, who are the Rockefellers, who are the globalist elites. Yeah, they're the Khazarian mafia. Those are the people that are behind these attacks. Those are the people behind 9/11. Those are the people that hate Trump. They own the media. They own the banks. They're the same people. If we just got rid of them, the Israelis, the Palestinians, everyone, we will just get along because we are the children of Israel, if you like, or the people of Israel. We are, because in Latin, Israel means those who strive with God. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. We all strive for God because we all have compassion. If you're a real human being and you're not a reptilian or whatever you want to call them, or a demon, and you're a human being, you have love in you. You have compassion. You have sympathy. This is why when we think about all this torturing and child trafficking and adrenochrome and Pizzagate, we think, well, how can a human being do this? Well, they are not humans. They are demonic entities that are on this planet who are causing this chaos, and we need to wake up and get rid of these people. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, you're spot on. It actually brings me into my next point because, empathy and having sympathy and empathy for your fellow man. When somebody falls over in the street, do you just walk past them? The other day I was going in for breakfast. There was an old lady with her husband trying to get down some steps. It just stopped raining. It was marble floor. I thought, I don't like that. I'm gonna help. So I gave her my arm. We helped her down the stairs together. And just that, she was surprised that a total stranger would come up and say, "What are you talking about? This is how things used to be, giving up your seat to the elderly." But helping them down the stairs, helping with some heavy luggage, opening a car door for a woman, or even a store door. These are all basic human manners and mannerisms that we were taught as kids. And the younger generation just seem to have forgotten all that because they're too busy with video games. But the act of humanity is what this is all about. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu, in my opinion, and again, can be debated, I think he's a total psychopath. Because what he's done is he's deliberately created a conflict there by doing a deal, leaving the back door open. And it's now got so bad that people are not even debating whether Israel created Hamas. They absolutely, unequivocally, unquestionably did. They funded it. They helped raise it. They took power. They eliminated all of the political opponents when they got into controlling the public in Palestine. Then it's Hamas was Israel's creation. So this is the dog turning on the master, is basically where we're at. Now, we're still in that situation where nobody believes, and it's not just me, this is 3/4 of the population of Israel do not believe that the special security services, Mossad, in Israel did not know what was coming. They knew what was coming. So what's the reason why? They need a conflict. Why do they need a conflict? Because they really needed, they have this mentality, the Netanyahus of this world, the Zionists have this ultimate, they don't just want to take back this land that was or is Palestine. They want to eliminate every man, woman, and child, dog, tree, bush, anything that has ever existed. They want to annihilate this entire word from public memory, from living memory. And it's this psychopathic behavior that is the worry, because now he's got into a situation where America have backed him. And this is where we're at now. This is what's happened in the last 7 days, okay? So the US launched an attack against Iranian forces, and they bombed Syria. Now, Syria got nothing to do with this, but there was they're not exactly 100% Iranian, but it's Iranian-backed forces. So they bombed Syria because that's where they were based, okay? So now Russia have said, okay, you can use our air bases, which are heavily fortified, so they can't come in and blow up your forces. China are saying, be careful, be careful. Watch what you're doing. Don't push it. Don't push it. Russia is staying silent. That's exactly what the Russian bear does. It stays silent in hibernation, but you should not want to wake it up. Because now you've got Netanyahu, who thinks he's going to go in and annihilate all of Palestine. And that's what I'm talking about. Down to a leaf, mate. That's exactly what he wants. He wants to just erase it from human history. But there's so many other weird things going on about it, because the guy's a psychopath. He's deliberately done it. He's caused the conflict. He wants this. The Israeli people don't want it. The Palestinian people don't want it. Most of the people are just a little bit like, I'm confused by how did this even happen? And then we see all of this conflict, and it's all spilling out on the cities all over the world, either supporting Israel or supporting Palestine. But what they should be doing is, like you say, uniting against the people that created this, saying, we don't want it. The Americans don't want to see more people of their loved ones coming back in body bags from a conflict the other side of the world. Has got nothing to do with them. Now, here's the other odd thing. There's a lot of strange prophecies about this, Nick, which was the next point. We're talking about biblical prophecies. The land lease on Israel expires tomorrow, the 31st, I believe. Is that tomorrow? What's today's date? Yes, today. It expires today. So officially, they don't have a lease on that. And that was created in 1948. Again, nobody's talking about this.
So land lease expires when?
Yeah.
Where it the land
1948. It was done in 1948, because you got to go back into history. The British
Israel,
yeah, they have a lease on this land. So what was happening is the Palestinians agreed to let the Israel people come home. But then Israel started getting greedy and took more and more and more and more. They wanted everything. And this is what happened. The Israeli propaganda told the people that this was the devil. And of course, the Arab conflict between the Jews has been going on forever. But the lease is up today.
Who does it belong to? Who's the freeholder?
Well, it was a deal cut up because at the end of World War II, Britain had control of that area. It was the Brits that said, okay, we'll give you this, because they had millions of displaced Jews after World War II because of what Hitler did. So all of the Jews that were from Eastern Europe and Middle Europe and the Central Europe, all of these Jews that were all, they killed 6 million of them during the Holocaust. But there was still a lot of them still displaced. They didn't have their homes anymore. They couldn't go back. There was nothing left. So they wanted to go back to their homeland, which was Israel. This is all, again, biblical prophecies. And the Bible says, I will bring my people home. The God's chosen people are the Jews from the Jewish homeland, which is there. So they feel like they have a right to it. But there's so many prophecies coming out of the book of Revelation now, Nick. I actually watched a very well presented, it was a sermon. It was an hour and 20 minutes from a church in Hawaii that I watched it yesterday. And he was detailing all of the biblical prophecies about what's coming true, what's coming to pass. And what they're saying is that this is going to be a conflict that's going to bring the Arabs and the Jews into a conflict. And what they're trying to do is to create a conflict where they're both wiped out. The Zionists don't care about Israel. They don't care about the Jews. They don't care about the Arabs. What they want is eliminate everybody and try and usher in this new religion, which is basically Satan, a satanic religion. Because if you look at it, over the centuries, and again, this is biblical, it's all in the Bible, 26% of the Bible is prophecy. I only learned this recently, 26%. So out of all the thousands of years, there's always been an attempt by Satan, by the devil, again, biblical, to try and kill the Jews. And we'll talk about one. Well, we can talk about two. There was the time where Moses was there and the Pharaoh killed all of the children, and Moses was put in a basket and sent down the Nile, and he was saved. So it was his attempt to try and kill all of the Jewish people because the devil knows that when they bring back God and Jesus comes back, when Jesus comes back, the return, it's going to be in this area and it's going to be linked directly to the Jews. So he tried to wipe out that prophecy. Then the second time was when Herod did it. And he slayed all of the newborn children around 2 years old. He tried to kill them all again. It's happened about 5 times. So the biblical prophecies, whether you believe it or not, I just think it's fascinating. They've always said the devil will always try to kill everybody in Israel, trying to stop the Christ coming back. So the Christ was born in the first days, Herod and Moses. These days, and he's trying to do it again now, but he won't succeed because the devil is a master deceiver. He's tricker. He bullshits, and he doesn't know. He's not all-knowing like God is. So he's always trying to do these tricks on people to try and get his own way, but he never succeeds. And it's really strange how what he's been talking about, what's been prophesied in the Bible, is all basically right in front of you. And you just got to say, oh my God, this is very strange how it's all there. So the Middle East at the moment is a big mess. Whether it gets to that point of an extreme conflict and World War III kicks off, because everyone's talking about that. The largest American fleet since World War II is now in the Mediterranean. And you got to understand the situation. If America are backing Israel and Israel is the aggressor, it's like, oh, wait, don't mess with me because my dad and brothers are back there sitting in aircraft carriers with nuclear capabilities. But then you've got Russia and China saying, don't push it. Don't push us, because they're not on the same side as Israel. And then you've got all of these other strange things going on, like the world's top 50 companies that put everybody into lockdown, forced us all to take vaccines, have put millions and millions of people in distress by taking their homes and jobs away. All of these companies have all got people at the top of them who all have a second passport from Israel. I think we talked about that in the last show, right? Does that ring a bell? I think we did. I've talked about it in a few shows. So that's very strange. Out of all of these countries where they're coming, all these scientists from all over the world, you've got Switzerland and Europe, you've got America, Australia. All of these top people in these companies have all got second passports for Israel, which there's no extradition. So at the end of the day, at the end of the day, Australia now pushing a big thing. New Zealand are pushing a big comeback, saying you've vaccinated 30 people out this clinic and all 30 of them are dead now. Mm-hmm. Pfizer last 10 days ago said we absolutely know that it causes myocarditis in teenagers up to early 20s, mid 20s. These people have got cardiomyocarditis. They know about this. Only 2.6% of people have now gone up for their new shots in the USA. People know that it's not good for them. Mm-hmm. But here's the weird thing. All of this is predicted in the Bible. They're talking about taking the mark of the beast and the chemicals. It's all in there. It's just the interpretation. I'm not a church goer, Nick.
No, neither am I, but I love all this. And Tommy, What do you mean? What do you think when it refers to the mark of the beast? What do you think that is? The vaccine?
Well,
Do you think there's something later coming that's going to be like the mark of the beast?
well, I think it is the mark, but I think what they're talking about now is putting a chip underneath your skin where you just be scanned and pay for everything instead of having, cash in your wallet or paying with your phone. I think they're going to try to just put a chip underneath everybody. I think it's going to be, yeah, take the chip, make your life easy. You don't have to do that. You receive central bank digital currency, for example. I think that's another evil invention that's there to control us, the mark of the beast.
And in the
Absolutely.
Bible, it says that if you take the mark, you will not be saved.
Yeah. I mean, now we're in the days of what's it called? I always call it the reckoning, but it's actually I can't remember. That's one of these words I always forget. It's about when people start disappearing. Did you see any of those videos where there was people disappearing in airports last week?
Yeah, I saw that. Was that true?
Well, the problem is that the CCT videotape of people, there's a couple walking through, and as he got through the X-ray, he disappeared. She freaks out screaming, but there's a glitch, there's a bzzzt, and it could be just manipulated because there is a section in the Bible where God calls back all his people. So Jesus calls them all back. So they all just disappear and they leave. And then there's 7 years of hell. And this is a Bible prophecy, okay? The Israelites, the Israel people, identify the Christ that comes back. But after 3.5 years, they realize that he is a false Christ. He's been bullshitting. And they realize that he's not who he is. He's actually the Antichrist.
Got it.
So it takes them 3.5 years to realize that. And then for the next 3.5 years, literally all hell on earth breaks loose. You're talking the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You're talking absolute mayhem. And it's where people are getting on the knees begging to be let back into heaven. It's biblical prophecies. Now, if you think that 26% of the Bible has been prophecies, and all of them can be considered that have come to pass, that can be considered that have been true in some form of interpretation, it's certainly worth investigating. We're in the book of Revelation now, where we're just about to have this mark of the beast is coming back, this third world war. And if we don't stop it, it's going to get, eventually it'll just get so out of hand. It's just life won't be worth living. So we've got to believe that whoever's going to come and stop it, if we think the white hats are eventually going to let it get to a point and say, okay, enough is enough, then are they being guided by God? And is this where we're going to go next? We're all waiting for a divine intervention to break this madness that we're all living in.
Talk to me a little bit about Trump, because some people say he's Antichrist, and I don't believe that. But what do you think about that?
Well, here's the thing about Trump. I think I like him personally, but I don't trust all politicians. I think they all have their own agenda. I think he's genuine what he talks about. He wants to make America great again. Some of the things he's done, he's misquoted some Bible quotes, I've been told. I haven't double-checked that. But a lot of the devout Christians and devout Bible followers are suspicious of him because they feel that he's just a politician using that for his own advantage. But I believe if he was back in power, he could stop this straight away. He would certainly stop the Ukraine conflict. And I think he would be straight over there. But I've seen him sitting with Netanyahu, and he doesn't like him. Trump doesn't like him. You can see the language.
Kim Clement said that Donald Trump will not be a religious president. He will be a praying president. So he might not know the Bible inside out. He was never a religious person, but I think that he's definitely a good, loving, praying person, where we just pray to God.
Yeah, he doesn't strike me as being a liar, because the way he talks publicly, I think a lot of the stuff he talks about is absolutely true. How bad things have got with Biden, and how bad things have got worldwide, the American economy, what's going on in the world. He did go around the world and do that peace tour when he was there, and that's all documented. We've seen that. He got the sword dance when he went to Saudi Arabia. The Vatican capitulated. The Queen capitulated.
Yeah.
So there is something in that. And what I'm hoping is that he can intervene and stop all this madness, because it's getting way out of hand, Nick. And there's some other great stuff. We talked about NATO at the start of this. We mentioned NATO. So here's what's happening. NATO are basically a bunch of midgets in nice suits. Let's just put it like that. Skinny little guys who think they can boss everybody around. But NATO don't have any power. The forces have been depleted. They're low on armaments and ammunitions. They can't go up in a fight against China and Russia. That would last about 6 days. And here's the other strange thing. A lot of the technology that NATO have deployed in their air superiority that they think, their jets are just dropping out the sky. So some of the missions have been flying specifically over the Ukraine, which again is not in the mainstream media. They don't understand how their latest technology jets, there was one that happened in America. Do you remember the one in America that went missing? The pilot ejected and the jet was 60 miles away. I think that was a test. I think that was some form of new technology that either China or Russia, maybe both of them have, where they're saying, don't push it, because here's what's going to happen. And we'll show you. We're going to take out one of your jets on your own turf. We're going to knock out the guidance system, the computer database, the whole thing that guides the plane, because there's been planes flying in the operational database, operation missions in the Ukraine that have just dropped out the sky. Now the radar systems that have been tracking this, all of this is all tracked by radar. This is how they do it. They're saying they're not seeing any missiles coming in. They're not seeing any problems. The pilots are not reporting, I've got an electromagnetic anomaly or anything like that. The planes are just losing power and that's it, gone. They have no control. So I think this is China and Russia have got some technology where they've hacked into the computer system of these planes. And they're saying, watch this. Boop. We're going to take that plane out. We're going to take this plane out. Now, NATO are terrified about this because they've no control. They can't control it. They're absolutely terrified because one of the first things that you need in a theater of war operation is air superiority. At least need to be a contender at the table. And if this technology can say, you can send whatever you want, we'll push one button and take them all out. You have no chance.
Yeah.
That knocks out everything. If there is any conflict, especially the air conflict, they can't compete with that. And as far as ground troops, if they had to put feet on the ground, China and Russia have got literally about 6 times more troops than NATO have. NATO are a kid in a uniform trying to arm wrestle the Russian bear. And it's a ridiculous feat of infinity that they'll just never get there. They'll just never win. Russia know it, but they keep their mouth shut. Russia's very clever. They don't say anything.
Interesting. Well, we're going to have to see what happens. Hopefully, Q says Israel's last. So after this, I'm interested to see what's going to happen. I do believe God wins in the end. But David, David, it's been an absolute honor to have you. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
I've got a link I can send you to the show that I watched last night. And it's a bit heavy. If you're not a churchgoer, I watched it because I wanted to see it to the end. But you can ask your viewers to do that. But study the book of Revelation. But the problem with the Bible, Nick, is it jumps all over the place. You got to go back to John 3:16, and then you're over to here to the letters to the Corinthians. But this guy put it together. He's not a religious fanatic. He doesn't come across as nuts. He's got some humor in there. It's an hour and 17 minutes long. I'll send you the link if you want to offer it to your audience. But
please.
He talks a lot of sense. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm a Bible expert. I just thought this is very strange. It's like a lot of string of coincidences, how he's put it all together. And study Bible because it seems to be in there.
It's very interesting.
Again, don't believe anything that comes over the mainstream media because they're just trying to influence you and put you on their own narrative agenda. You've got to do your own research, guys. Absolutely. You need to do more and more research. We all do it. We spend hours every day doing our research to get the truth so we know what's going on. But thanks, Nick. As a pleasure. It's always great to come on and talk to you and share what I've been learning over the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing. It's very interesting. And we'll speak again very soon. And you take care and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Nick.